Hey everybody, it's producer James here with none other than Drew Dekes. We're in Montreal. We were at the game last night, so we couldn't record a reaction last night. We had Damon and Adrian on the channel doing the first reaction show. We're going to give you 2 reaction shows here on Habs tonight because there's a lot to react to. And actually, we're going to call this episode the overreaction show because we actually want to overreact to some of the plot lines from last night. So, Andrew, first of all, what do you think of the game last night?
Man, it was so much fun. Like, just to have, like, Shaner got tickets last minute, so we got to bump into Shane. And for me, it was a pretty long drive yesterday to get here, but the end result of the game made it all worth it. It was a blast from start to finish. The game started off a little bit slow, and then the second, third period, especially the third period, was really exciting, and I was expecting more from Toronto. So I was shocked. I was shocked that Montreal was able to pull it together last minute the way they did. We're going to break down the game in specific detail more, but man, it was so worth the trip. And we got to meet some pretty cool people along the way as well. Friend of the show, Amanda Suzuki, Nick's mom, Philip Mishar, first round pick, 26th overall, friend of your Slafkovsky. As you know, he was taking pictures with like hundreds of people after the game. We happen to be 2 of them. And yeah, there's so much to break down, and we're going to have some good overreactions for you guys. We got lots of them. So yeah, this is fun to do something in person. This is weird for us because we're like, oh, there's a person here.
This is no camera tricks, folks. We're here in a hotel room in Montreal, so we're just down the street from the Bell Center. Last night I got to attend the game as well with some corporate friends, but also some Maple Leaf fans. So they left with tail between their legs, walking out, and I hear that the Leafs coach Sheldon Keefe was none too happy with the effort last night. That they had played down to our level of quality of hockey. And you know what? Like I said, this is a reaction show, an overreaction show. I think we should start overreacting to some of the things that we saw last night because I think we broke down the game pretty good last night on our other broadcast. But first things first, obviously the big story of the night: Caufield, 2 goals already. He's on a campaign for 40. Let's go. I was looking at last year's stats. You know, it's about a couple dozen players can get over that 40 plateau every year. Is he of that caliber? Is he like David Pastrnak, who I think was the lowest scoring 40 goal scorer last year? Is Caufield poised to be at that level of scoring this season? What do you think?
Well, based on last night, absolutely yes. But easy to say. But I loved on the second goal, especially, like, you could see the hesitation. You could see he was looking past the whole way. And then just, he's such a sniper, and he really knows how to pick spots on the net. And the first goal, I mean, he had a chance near the end of the first period, if you remember, from Suzuki on a 2-on-1 near the end of the first. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was a tap. It was a one-timer, a little tip that just sailed over the net. But they were getting their chances in the first. They had a couple of them. And then, his first goal, he didn't miss. It was like right as the second period started. So a lot of fans missed that. I did not. I was in there. And he tipped it in. Actually, it wasn't a one-timer. It was like a catch and release quickly. But the second goal, I don't know which goal you want to look at, but they were both nice. It's just the fact that he was able to finish. And last year, we went to the home opener last year as well against the Rangers, and Cole was nervous. He admitted he could feel the pressure against the Rangers in the home opener last year, playing on a line with Toffoli and Suzuki. And this year, absolutely not. Just the guys are trying to play free. Marty St. Louis is really trying to implement this freedom aspect to everybody's game, not just the veterans, but the new guys. We saw Slav last night playing his first NHL game. His dad was there with Mishar and all those guys. But the guys are playing free, and if Caufield can continue to play free, he's going to get 40. He's going to be a regular 40 goal scorer. I think we're all happy if he gets 30 or more. No one's going to give him a hard time if he doesn't get, a 35 or more. But I think he can hit 40 if he just keeps playing his game. It's very much more in the realm of possibility now than last year.
Yeah, and the one aspect of this is the players around him have gotten better too. So he'll be on the line with Suzuki, I imagine, as many times as he can get them out there together. Suzuki will be feeding him tater tots all day. And look, I mean, he looked looser too. I think that's one of the impressions we want to share with you from being in the arena from last year to this. Just like a guy who felt like he belonged now. He had a spot. He's confident in himself. He knows how to see the game a little better, I think, and it really showed. So I expect nothing, but this is our least hottest of takes. So let's get into the next one. Suzuki for Selke. Okay, and there's one completely look, I'm not good at stats. Oftentimes when you want to look at stats. You got to have, a bigger sample size to draw a conclusion. Last night, Suzuki, 57% face-offs. Won. Okay. Guess who won the Selke last year for best two-way player? None other than Patrice Bergeron, 5-time winner. What was his percentage last year at face-offs? 57.7.
Ooh, that's...
Hey, I know it's one game, but I think if he sews up that part of his game at the face-off circle, what do you think is going to happen for his odds to be looked at as a Selke Award winner, a spiritual successor to none other than Patrice Bergeron?
Well, after meeting him last year, he must have picked his brain quite a bit, because Suzuki already had enough in his toolbox. Now he seems to have more. And just Nick, he's Captain Nick Suzuki, by the way. We got to continue to, Nick corrected us the other day on our last show. Do check out the pre-season preview show. It was still fantastic. The OGs jumping on Nick, Shane, and myself. And Nick was kicking herself not being able to be there last night. So she knows we missed her, having her there. But Captain Nick Suzuki, man, I mean, maybe not Selke this year, but I do think it's very much in the realm of possibility that it's going to happen at some point in his career, maybe more than once. Just his poise. He knows how good he is without being arrogant. And I think that's also a personality and player trait combined. Like, it's him as a person coming out in the player as well, in the sense that he just isn't like, Jesperi Kotkaniemi was somebody who knew he was good, but he was just not able to kind of live up to his own level, or whatever you want to call it. But Nick Suzuki is just a player that does so many things well, as we know. Selke candidate, it's obvious for me. But I mean, like, you look at last week in the preseason, his little pass, first of all, Nick Suzuki played one preseason game. And in that preseason game, he had 2 unbelievable assists. And one of them was a double deke, like past 2, what was it, Ottawa Senators players, and then a pass over to UL Armia for a goal. And then last night, end of the game, 17 seconds left. Number 17 is right next to him. And just the subtle little pass that he gave to Josh Anderson to just get enough on it to just rip it the way that Anderson was able to. It was all Nick Suzuki. It was all Nick Suzuki on that play. And that was just a fun finish to that game. My gosh. I know we're kind of jumping all over the place a little bit, but
no, it's okay. No, and you don't need to be an elite goal scorer to win that award either. You can, I think Patrice Bergeron had 25 goals last year or something. So, yeah, somewhere in the 65-point range or higher, you're probably set. Okay, so Carey will come back. Like any good cowboy story, the man in black showed up wearing his cowboy hat, and what do you call? Damon called it cowboy drip.
What is that? I have no idea what that is.
Those young kids, they just, anytime we wear cool clothes, it's called drip. Anyways.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Not encouraging news from Kent Hughes about his current state, like having a hard time walking upstairs, whatnot. I see a guy who's Shea Weber didn't even show up last year. He was still a rostered player. They came off a short break, and it was a bit alarming to not see him in the building. We kind of expected him to do the little wave. Carey did. He did what Shea Weber didn't do last year. And it's not a criticism of Shea Weber. He's not personality-wise, I don't think that's his raison d'etre, right? But
yeah,
Carey showed up, showed leadership, showed that he's still involved with the club. I think you only do that if you are hoping to come back still. Maybe not this year, but he's not walking away.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that just says to you that, like, until he says it's over, it's over. So, but the fact that he came out last night, so they introduced, and the player introductions were awesome. And I want to shout out Dale, our founder, for, I know he's still on a very long break, and he let him take as long as he needs. I know fans still ask us about it all the time. But I will say that the player introductions last night were awesome. The pregame montage before the players came out was even better. That's where we saw Dale. They just showed one of his playoff goals. I think it was the Tampa goal, the overtime goal. But they had all the injured players and healthy scratches come out and still give a wave to the fans. Carey was the last one of the bunch, which was perfect. I was hoping, and I was expecting him to be there, because we heard from his wife Angela that they're going to be either at every game or watching every game very closely throughout this season. Carey's still going to be a part of the team. That's huge, and his spirit will still be with him. But he was in the flesh last night. He was flesh and spirit last night, and the ovation he got. He tipped the cap, just took his time to really. He was looking around the building. You could see, I think he was waving at us. No, he was looking around at everybody and just soaking in the moment. He may not get another, home opener again. This might have been his last one. We don't know that, but our hot take, or I guess our exaggeration or overreaction, is that he's going to come back. He's, you know what? Until Carey Price says it's over, I won't believe it. So,
yeah, body permitting, he'll be back. He's not psychologically out of the game by any stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, Slav sticks. So Slafkovsky, he looked, I would say, better than Shane Wright last night. Played more minutes. We know that. And it's not a dig on Shane, but the impression that I had of Slafkovsky was that he belonged. He's just such a baby still. There's certain things. I think he was kind of coached into playing more of a defensive shutdown role last night, but he had a couple of breaks onto the net. And I think I'm confused as to whether or not I want to see him stick with the team for the season or get his 9 games in and get moved down to get some more reps, whether it's Laval or even overseas. I'm not sure what the plan is, but Drew, what did you see from him that makes you think he could be on the roster perhaps for the entire year, that he should be?
Well, you mentioned his defensive game, and Shane talked about that in his first preseason game against New Jersey because Shane was at that game. And you could see it full well last night that he was very defensively responsible. He had a couple of hits on Matthews, which I thought was a lot of fun. Matthews knocked him down once, two behind the net, I saw, which, whatever. I bet you Slav loved it, to be honest with you. Like, he talked about how excited he was to play against Austin Matthews. And he got to do it for real last night in a real game. But he looked fine. He got a couple of shots that, like, every time he touched the puck and he was even kind of getting close to the offensive zone, the crowd was behind him. And you know what? Whether he plays 9 games, I think I'd rather see him go to Laval just for the fact that I want him to get top line minutes and really work on his offensive side of the game, because we've really seen more of a defensive game from him, and that's fine. I'd rather, you can't teach that. So, like, you can't. Mike Hoffman's not going to be a defensively responsible forward for the ages. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. And he is who he is. Whereas Slav can develop this part of his game now and then work on his offensive skills more so in Laval once he's more comfortable and confident there, that by the time he comes back up to the NHL, then we know he's going to be hopefully hitting the sheet, the score sheet more. So that's what you want to see personally, I think.
Yeah, and I think the Leafs are actually a decent team. There were times in that game where they totally dominated puck possession against some of our better players, and it's just one of those things where I think he's going to find himself after 9 games. He'll have a clear statistical consensus around where he belongs. So overreaction is, I think he should be here for the rest of the season. I love what I saw. Certainly not the complete picture, but I think he can develop with these players at this level. So that's my overreaction. Okay. This is a hot take, but we had 2 rookie defensemen yesterday. One of them much more heralded than the other. One who did not work at Costco a year or 2 ago, and one who's, what did you think? And I can't say the name. I keep messing it up. So tell me, who's better prospect for the team now after what you saw last night from Gouli and
Jack-Eye.
Thank you.
Oh man, Arbor Jack-Eye and Caden Gouli, 2 guys that you know what? A lot of guys made mistakes last night. They were 2 of them, but when you look at an overall sense of things, like, I mean, Caden Gouli's ice time for one was way up there, and Caden Gouli looked really good on his skates, just making really good, confident plays, jumping up in offense a little bit. Even Jack-Eye did a little bit. But, Jack-Eye got called for that penalty, and then Kerfoot got the penalty shot. Shout out Jake Allen for having a huge game. He got one of the stars of the game.
3rd star. In fact, it was not shocking, but the game-winning goal scorer didn't get a star. But it was deserved Anderson. When you look at the other players, for sure. And he was one of them. Big reason.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that, obviously Jack-Eye was really happy with the save that Allen made. But in terms of his game, I mean, you could hear the cheers every time Jack-Eye would lay a hit. It was pretty clear that fans were really behind him and expecting him to do some good things. He didn't drop the gloves, which he didn't need to, but I really liked the fact that not just Jack-Eye, but the Canadians were also able to kill off a lot of penalties with that lethal Leafs power play. I was not impressed with the Leafs power play one bit. I didn't think they were dangerous. I didn't think the Leafs were nearly as dangerous as they could have been in times past. When you look at the playoffs last year, or even the end of the season when they were playing well, they were warmed up. Last night, it's the first game of the season, so they're probably still getting into it. But going back to Jack-Eye and Gouli, I don't know. I really like Caden Gouli right now, to be honest with you. I really like both players, but I think Gouli has a more complete game in terms of Physical, offense, defense, just smarts, confidence. He looks ready right now, and Jack is ready right now, I think, too. But when you get Edmondson and Matheson back in the lineup, then you got to send one or two of these players down. Probably going to be the guy whose name I can't pronounce, the Niagara Falls native. I can't even remember his last name.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. See, we help each other out, man. Yeah. We help each other out. That's what we do on Habs Tonight. But
I think they're both on the team for the foreseeable future. And I agree that Goulet is probably the stronger of the two. Jack, at the game, he stood out far more than Goulet did, but I think he was playing sort of a more risk reward style of defense. And,
yes, he was.
Yeah. And I think he's just knows this is his moment. He's got a lot to prove. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt that Goulet is going to get throughout the season. Just isn't. It's going to be a shorter string on a shorter string.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have the pedigree, which is the way it works. So, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe St. Louis, some of the players we saw on the ice last night would never have been on there if Bergevin and the old regime were running the show still. They would have signed they would have signed PK Subban or something. Who knows? But they would have done things to put players out there that were, more solid and more known, and with the hopes that maybe that contributes to more wins and running the playoffs. And we're not there. These are players that are not going to have good moments from time to time because they're young, they're developing. Sometimes they're going to be playing competition that has their act together. The Leafs certainly did not have their act together last night, especially in goaltend in net. We know that. I thought that was iffy. Well, we don't need to talk about that too much.
Well, Matt Murray, though, I mean, coming in and all the throw him into the wolf. Well, not really. I mean, I'm still surprised that we scored 4 goals. But you know what? It was just it was Montreal's night at the end of the night. I thought the first half of the game it was teeter-tottering, and the Leafs still, to me, had the advantage. I wasn't confident. And what I was seeing from guys like Dadonov, didn't see a lot I liked from Hoffman. You know what I mean? The guys that aren't going to be here next year that are on Hoffman's contract's not expiring, but Dadonov's here for 1 year. Although I did like the birthday boy, Sean Monahan's game last night. I mean, come on. He should have had the game-winning goal if it weren't for the 2-on-1 where Nylander tied at 3-3. Sean Monahan, they kept putting him out there. And they were trying different line combinations too. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. But Marty was changing it up. So he was giving an opportunity to a bunch of guys to try playing together. And Sean Monahan, he had the nice goal, the nice finish on the kind of the bounce. The puck bounced to him off the Jordan Harris shot. Jordan Harris I thought had a good game. We should talk about him a little bit. But Monahan, I liked what I saw from him. It's just a guy that he's a veteran. It's clear that he's an NHL veteran, but you could really see it because he just didn't look out of place, and he was responsible defensively, offensively. I just think he was not doing too much, and it was an opportune shot. Like that shot was completely he was in the right place at the right time. He anticipated that shot. I watched the replay, and you could really see him just go to the right spot and then just wire it. So Sean Monahan, shout out to him, birthday boy. He almost didn't play in that game last night. This was his first game back from his last hip surgery. First game in months and months and months. Looked pretty darn good last night, man. If we can get more to that.
That's insane that's his first game. I mean, the team looked a lot looser. Obviously, the idea here is that players have responsibilities, but they're not tied to a system at the same time. So it was just some more free flowing, much better than last year's game. Just
not
less
even close.
of I don't know, just less pressure, you could tell, and it just made for a more fun experience in the arena. I also had better seats this year, but it was
me too.
Yeah,
I was going to tell you that I was in the same. I told you this yesterday. I was in the same section where Nick got me tickets last year, but last year I was in the last row. This year I was in the second row of the section. So 423 was where I was last year. I was in 323 this year, which is the same upper bowl, but at the bottom of the upper bowl. So our vantage point, especially of the third period goals with Sean Monahan and Josh Anderson, was beautiful. We should jump into Jordan Harris really, really quick just before I forget. So I just want to talk about Jordan Harris because to me, I think he's going to be a faster, I don't know about more skilled, maybe a little more offensively skilled than Josh Georges. Josh Georges was on our show last year. I had a great interview with him. But I think to me, what I saw last night was some mistakes, but I also saw him kill a lot of plays with his stick. Not a guy who has a huge reach like Slafkovsky. Jordan Harris was just focusing on one thing, and that was just to break up plays, kill plays, and try to get the puck going the other way. And then he got the assist on Monahan's goal. So a guy that just, to me, he's a smart player. He's we got a lot of smart players on our team. Kirby Dach, we got to give a shout out to, because he had a goal that was almost in. It wasn't a goal. It was reviewed. You could not conclusively see.
It was not a goal, but we were all cheering for it. Yeah,
yeah.
A little stuffed, stuffy wraparound.
But I liked what I saw from him. That was kind of what I was getting at. I liked what I saw from Kirby Dach. Like, I didn't see a lot of mistakes from Kirby. I really liked his zone entries. I liked his board work. His like a lot of elements to his game to be liked by Kirby Dach. Just trying to think of who else. Jake Evans looked okay. He's buried on the fourth line, but responsible defensively. Again, really happy with the penalty kill to shut down Toronto at the end of the game when there was 6 minutes left, and then for us to take a lead after that, build off that momentum. The crowd, you could tell after the penalty kill, remember, like, we were all fired up, and it led to Monahan's goal and then Nylander tying it, but then Josh Anderson obviously icing it. So, man, it was an entertaining game. Let me just say that, for us to be in the building, all of us, it was electric, and I'm just glad that I got to witness it. And I was gonna go watch them in practice in Brassard today, but I'm like, I don't think I need to. So we're just gonna do this show and then move on to the next thing, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, and we got our money's worth for sure. No, thanks again for watching. Obviously, we'll be here for the rest of the season doing reactions. Hopefully more overreactions. Hope to see more of the guys like Monahan, like Harris. Like, we're playing with house money with a few players that maybe didn't have a lot of expectations. I know we traded for Dach, but again, another player where if we get the best out of him and he actually kind of turns into what we hoped he was going to be career-wise, wow. I mean, he's a big boy. He's him and Slav and some of these players, and the defense that's not, a black hole anymore. Sia Romanov, like players like can move the puck out of the zone, help support an offensive rush, but, not completely get obliterated on the other side. That's what we're hoping to see this year. So with that being said, thanks again for watching. Drew, thank you for coming and doing this with us today with me here in a hotel room somewhere in Montreal near the Bell Center. And until next time, keep watching. And this is Habs Tonight. James, thanks so much.
Cheers, everybody.